Hi, I'm John Twist of University Motors. Today I want to talk a little bit about Lucas 25D distributors. Those were used from 1962 on the MGBs. They replaced the DM4s maybe, and ended with the 45Ds or the 45DEs, which were introduced in 1975. So we've got this range of the most common type of Lucas distributor, and they will all work back and forth. I mean, you can take one out of a Morris Minor and put an MGB, take an MGB one and put it in an MGC, you can take an MGC one and put it in a midget, but the vacuum advance rates are different on all the different distributors. The total amount of advance is different on all the distributors, and the rate of advance is different on all the distributors. So changing them willy-nilly, although it'll make the car run, won't make the car run as well as it should. Right now I'm working on a 1973 or 1974 25D distributor. We're going to come down and take a real close look at it, because I'm going to change the total advance so that the car runs better. Remember that the best distributor was the 40897 on the MGB. That was used from 63 through 67. In 1968, they changed the distributor to meet emission standards, and again in 69, and 70, 71, and 72, and 73, etc. Not only here, but in Canada and California, Europe, France, Germany. Hey, they were all different. So there are 100 different distributors. But the rule is that if you can get your total advance, distributor advance, down to about 10 or 12 degrees, it's gonna idle well and it's gonna run well. You should be idling at 20 degrees, sometimes before that, at idle. Otherwise you'll create a lot of heat in the engine. And your maximum advance should be 32 degrees. Okay? So we're going to come in and take a real close look inside this distributor. Here we see that we've got a finger here which limits the amount of advance. See where this is marked 19? Okay? Well, that's 19 degrees of distributor advance, which is like way too much to make the car run well. I mean, it meets emission standards. So when this thing starts to advance and these weights start to toggle out, if I can get it to do this, although it's hard, this thing's a little jammed up here, but if I can get this thing to toggle out, maybe I can, I don't know. Then eventually this finger comes up and hits this post, which limits the amount of advance that it has. And that is the limiting feature. I'm trying to push this thing ahead and get these things toggled out here. So that's our full 19 degrees of advance. You'll see that it turns anti-clockwise. It advances anti-clockwise. The distributor runs anti-clockwise. So as this continues to turn farther anti-clockwise, it advances the spark by breaking the point sooner. I'm going to take this cam off here, and I'm going to pop the springs off, take the cam off, and I'm going to weld on the end of here so that I don't have as much advance. So to get the springs off, I've got this nice little hook here, and we're going to come down in here and just pop this guy off. Doesn't that look easy? But you know, I've done this before, so you may not have, well, maybe I won't have the success I'm thinking of. I'm trying to do this with a camera in the way, and I usually, let me try the other end here. Maybe I'll be eating my words here, I don't know. So let me try here. Usually I can hook this thing and get it up without putting the scribe. You know, we call these dental tools, but they're really, when you buy them, they're scribes for layout. There, both of them are loose. I'm going to put a screwdriver here down the middle, get this big screw out the top. I just hit the microphone, hope it didn't make a lot of noise. And this guy ought to lift right off. Now he doesn't. I've got to pry him up here a bit. Sometimes you find the distributor cam frozen to the shaft, absolutely frozen. You got to heat him up and stuff. So here's the springs. We'll pop the springs off. Sometimes the springs are the same. These look the same. Sometimes the springs are different. It depends on the rate of advance, so forth. Let's keep the screw. There we go. Here's this guy. Now our next job is going to be to weld right on the end of here, about half the distance that was in here before. Let me get these weights out of here. I just washed it, so there's some water left inside. All this stuff is so yucky. I want to get this nice and cleaned up here. So we're going to take a camera break here, and we'll go over and get the welder and weld this guy out. I want to show you about this distributor cam. We'll come in close here. You can see the shiny little area here, and that's where the cam rider has been riding. That's where the points are opened. Okay, but the rest of this, look at this, has got hardened grease. I mean, this, even my fingernail has difficulty taking this off. Remember, we want to get this cleaned up, but we want to weld to here. And remember what Carl Heidemann says from Eclectic Motorworks, you can't weld to rust. So we're going to clean this guy up here on the wire wheel. So this is looking a lot nicer, but lastly I'm going to put this on the buffing wheel. Oh boy, look at this now, huh? All nice and shiny, and our area is nice and clean here to accept that weld. So let's go over to the welder. Now I'm going to use the wire feed welder and add a little bit of metal to that finger. How much to add? Always add too much, and then you can cut it back if you need to. Let's wait for this guy to cool. We're going to go back over to the grinder and clean him up a little bit. So here we are at the grinder. Here's our guy here. You can see how that weld is balled up on there. I missed it, flowed over here. But this is what I want to do. I stacked it up a little bit here. So we're going to take a grinder and finish this off. Won't take too long. So here we are. You can still see the 19 stamped in there, but it's no longer 19. We'll see what it is when we put it back in the distributor. And I've finished it off pretty smoothly, top and bottom. There's a little thing left here at the bottom, but that won't be of concern. So let's go over and put him back in the distributor and see how much he actually turns. So here we are back at the distributor. We're going to take a little bit of oil. Oil is your friend. We're going to flush this thing with some oil. I am going to take this back apart. I'm not going to fit this in the customer car all yucky like this, but there's only so long that you want to watch YouTube and watch this. Your wife's wanting to get on Craigslist to find some flowers or something. So let's get this as best we can here. Remember that the way that the cam goes back on is absolutely critical, and you can't just put it on willy-nilly. It's either on correctly or it's off by 180 degrees. So this is pretty good here. I'm pretty happy. Now, if you want this done absolutely correctly and you're not just fiddling it with yourself, you can send your distributor off to Jeff Schlemmer, and he'll do a real nice job in Minnesota on that. But this is a nice advance here, I think, and we won't know until after we get it in the car. But that's the way to reduce the advance. So again, just offhand, so you can understand what we've just done here again, there's one good distributor, the 40897, except no substitutes. Later on, that was a 41427. 41427. That was a 45D, maybe? Yeah, I think so. And it was called a Eurospec distributor because they didn't change the timing. They didn't change the distributor in England until really late, 77 or something, when their emission stuff started to come in. So there's one good distributor. Don't have Jeff make you up a distributor for a 1973. Make it up for an earlier car so that the car runs really well. If you want to do it yourself, do this. If you want to be really cautious, then take your rotor, which I don't have with me right now, and put it on a protractor and move it and say, have I got my 10 degrees of advance or 12 degrees or whatever you're after. So that's what I would suggest. We will next time show you how to time the car by turning the distributor and watching the timing light. And I want to remind everybody that I'm going to be in Chicago at the swap meet. It's the last Sunday in February. This year, the last Sunday in February comes pretty early. It's like the 20th or something. And right after that, we're going to be in Virginia, I believe, North Carolina, at the British Motor Trade Association. I think it's about the week after that. So stay tuned. Watch our website for calendar updates. Safety fast.